This is Derek from the Rich Dad Radio team. I have a special message only for listeners of this show. Would you like to learn Rich Dad's fundamental formula for real estate? Would you like to learn how to invest for value, to make investments that generate cash flow and return capital gains? Well, Rich Dad is finally releasing how to buy your first investment property to the public. Better still, it's 100% free for a limited time. Want to learn the real experiences of Kim and Robert? Learn how to invest using time instead of cash and turn your mistakes into opportunities? How to buy your first investment property isn't just for experienced real estate investors. It'll actually show beginners how to start small, capitalize on your own neighborhood, and learn the real meaning of fixer-upper, FSBO, vacancy rate, and zoning laws. How to buy your first investment property will only be free to the public for a limited time. Join the Rich Dad community at richdad.com. and you'll be the first to know about this long-awaited documents release. Again, I can't stress enough, this is available only for a limited time, and this is the first time this is being released to the public. If you want to get in on the ground floor, join the Rich Dad community at richdad.com and be on the lookout for how to buy your first investment property. I'm sorry, but that's all the details we're allowed to give for now. Keep listening and watch your inbox for more. Remember, you need to join the Rich Dad community at richdad.com. That's richdad.com. This week's show is sponsored by BarkBox. For a free extra month of BarkBox, visit barkbox.com/richdad when you subscribe to a 6 or 12-month plan.
Are you looking for a roadmap to get out of the rat race? If so, go to www.richdadfreeoffer.com to get a free strategy session with Rich Dad Coaching. Since you're listening to the Rich Dad Podcast Network, you know the world has more to offer you than a day job and a paycheck. It's time to stop making other people rich and relying on outdated financial advice. We have a solution for you, along with an offer that you can't pass up. For listeners of this show, Rich Dad Coaching is offering a free strategy session that will allow you to plan, improve, and control your financial future. Just go to richdadfreeoffer.com. Rich Dad coaches are trained to find real opportunities specifically for your personal situation, using the same thought process Robert has used for decades to make millions upon millions. Robert's coaches can show you how to eliminate liabilities, build assets, and put more cash in your pocket each and every month. There are limited slots available, so don't wait. Visit richdadfreeoffer.com. That's richdadfreeoffer.com.
This is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The good news and bad news about money. Here's Robert Kiyosaki.
This election, and all elections, are oftentimes about debt and taxes. You know, everybody complains the national debt is too high. Oh, good. Tell me something I don't know. And then just recently, or like the last election prior to this current 2016 election, Mitt Romney ran against Barack Obama. And Barack Obama won because he paid 30% in taxes, approximately 30%. And the poor middle class just love him. Oh, he paid 30%. He's just like me. And Romney gets hammered because he only paid 13%, which I think is high. But anyway, as you know, this is the Rich Dad Radio Show. The Rich Dad program is really about why the rich keep getting richer. And one of the primary reasons the rich get richer is because of very simple subjects called debt and taxes. So today's program, you're going to find out why and how debt and taxes make the rich richer. Any comments, Kim?
I think Americans are pretty dysfunctional when it comes to taxes. I mean, it's one subject that really, if you did some research, if you really studied it, you'd find out that paying taxes is not just, oh, he's paying a lot of taxes, she's paying a lot of taxes. Oh, they're so patriotic. That it's so backwards. And it upsets me because Romney, who pays 13% because he's building businesses and creating jobs and providing housing and things like that, he gets hammered for doing what is needed and wanted, whereby Obama does nothing and he just pays taxes. So it's a subject that is really pretty heated and I think people are just very, very ignorant about it. And our
so who
job
do you
is
want as president or vice president or congressman or senator? Somebody who pays a lot of taxes or somebody knows how not to pay taxes?
I want somebody who knows how to run businesses and can run a country, and so
pay
if they're
no
if they're running businesses, their taxes are going to be lower than somebody who's not doing that.
So all of you
don't
out
want
there
another
who are sick and
politician.
tired of paying taxes and sick and tired of hearing get out of debt and cut up those credit cards, we got a program for you today. So our guest today are Tom Wheelwright. He is our Rich Dad advisor, author of the book. The book is called Tax-Free Wealth. And he's going to be talking about how he saves Kim and I a lot of money by not paying taxes legally. See, I don't want to go to jail and dance the hula for some guy. So we do it legally. So you have to do it legally. And our other guest is Rich Dad advisor Ken McElroy, who is our partner on numerous real estate deals. But it's really not about real estate. It's about debt and taxes.
And Kenny's books are the ABCs of real estate investing and the ABCs of property management.
And the advanced guide to.
Yes, once you get there, then you need the advanced guide.
So for those of you,
But I'm going to say too, debt is something that also is people are just so ignorant about, and they don't understand that there is such a thing as good debt. Everybody thinks debt's a 4-letter word. They don't understand that there's such a thing as good debt. So people, please wake up and listen to our show.
okay, so this program is about debt and taxes. But before we bring them on, we're going to have a little clip here from Hillary versus the Donald.
Maybe he doesn't want the American people to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
That makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid
See, Hillary thinks that's criminal, and Trump thinks it's smart. If you think it's smart to pay taxes, then it's best right now you go listen to the Ellen DeGeneres show or watch the Kardashians. But if you want to find out how the rich really get rich is by using debt and taxes to get richer, this is your program. So welcome to the program, Tom
Welcome.
and Kenny.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for having us. This is a great topic. I think this is the biggest challenge with financial education in the world today, is this whole idea of debt and taxes. Is it bad? Is it good? Who's it good for? Who's it bad for?
Yeah. And Kenny, what do you think about debt and taxes?
Well, as we all know, the government actually creates these laws to direct money to them, and that's all that's happening. And so these are incentives that we use to save money on our on taxes. And so I think that for Trump to get slammed is ridiculous.
Well, you were telling me a story about that woman you were talking to. She's a massage therapist or something, and she was upset that Trump was paying no taxes. And you asked her a question, well, how many tax breaks do you take? And you see, everybody, It's okay, I take a tax break, but when Trump takes a tax break, he should go to jail, right? I mean, what was that story?
Well, yeah. So it was interesting. The day after the massage, the day after the debate, I got a massage.
What kind of massage?
I'm not sure.
debate?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure what order it was in. But
massage.
no, it was actually kind of comical. I was in the middle of a massage, and the lady says, "Can you believe that Trump doesn't pay any taxes?" I started laughing, but before I said anything, I thought to myself, "Okay, so what's the right way to answer this?" So I said, "So this is your business, right?" She says, "Yes," and she has a business with other employees and massage therapists, and it's a full business with a receptionist and everything. And I said, "So, does your business pay for your car?" "Yes." "Well, do you run a lot of personal expenses for your business?" "Yes." And I said, "Well, isn't that the same thing that he's doing? And aren't you getting tax breaks for running your business?" "Yes." So that once I told her that, then she started to realize, that she was doing the same thing, just on a smaller level.
Yeah. So Tom, let me ask this question. Is Trump a crook or is he smart?
Well, frankly, we don't know until we look at it. We really don't know. I mean, there are people who don't pay taxes that are crooks. But the whole tax law, the whole purpose of the tax law, in fact, the primary purpose of the tax law is to incentivize certain policies of the government. Okay, so whether it's real estate, which, I look at Trump and I'm going, he'd have to have the dumbest tax advisor on earth to be paying taxes, because that much real estate combined with that much debt, for him to be paying taxes, I just don't know how it would even be possible.
You would fire his tax guy, right?
I would absolutely fire his
But
tax
the
guy on the
assumption
spot.
of Americans is if you don't pay taxes, you're not patriotic. You're not doing your fair share.
Well, let me give you a little statistic here. So income tax raises about $2.1 trillion a year in revenue. But the income tax law provides $17.1 trillion of tax benefits. So what's the real purpose behind the tax law? The tax law is just a series of incentives. It's to guide government policy. If you want somebody to do something, Ken has an employee, you have an employee and you want them to do something, you're going to give them an incentive to do that. And that's what the government's figured out years and years ago. And by the way, it's the same in every country on earth. We've been all over the world together, and it is the same everywhere we go.
So in a lot of cases, the other assumption is it's illegal. It's illegal not to pay taxes. That's the other assumption Americans say.
Well, it's illegal not to pay taxes that you owe. However, if you are in real estate, if you're in oil and gas, if you're doing things the government wants you to do. If you buy an electric car, you get a tax credit. Okay, if you own a house, you get a deduction for your mortgage interest.
If I donate to my church, is that a tax break?
You get a tax break for donating to your church.
If I donate to charity, is that a tax break?
Totally. So everybody takes tax incentives. Everybody
takes
them.
Even the poor. Rudy Giuliani came out and he said, it's the poor do it all the time. Look at all the incentives they take advantage of. The loopholes.
The poor actually get refunds when they don't pay any taxes because they get an earned income credit. So there's actually benefits.
What about free cell phones?
Everybody. There's there are benefits for everybody. But the question is the better question is why? Why aren't certain people paying taxes? Do you want to change the policy? That's fine. But just understand that true financial education in my mind is understanding that the tax law is there. It provides these incentives
for jobs, to create jobs,
to build housing, for low-income
energy.
housing. I mean, for example, if Ken builds low-income housing, he gets a better tax benefit than if he builds a commercial building, right? So the government's just trying to manipulate the economy. That's what it's doing. And to take advantage of that is doing what the government wants you to do. So in my mind, if you're not taking advantage and doing what the government wants you to do, doesn't that make you unpatriotic?
In fact, if I build condos, which I did let's say 10 years ago, I paid a lot of tax.
Right.
I paid a ton of tax because I built property and sold off condos. But if I do low-income housing, like Tom said, I get big incentives. So if you just follow the tax code and you do what what they're basically asking you to do, you can save on tax.
And when we come back, we'll be talking more and more about this because there is this insanity, ignorance, what do you want to call it, amongst Americans that if you don't pay taxes, you're unpatriotic. Yet Americans seem to forget America was founded in 1773 on a thing called the Boston Tea Party. It was a revolt against taxes. And America has been a tax-free country primarily from 1773 till 1943, the year the Current Tax Payment Act kicked in. And the Current Tax Payment Act was made it possible for America to fund the war in the Pacific as well as Europe. So all of a sudden, ignorant Americans now have this idea that paying taxes is patriotic. And really I'm a former Marine and all this stuff. The primary use of taxes is to pay for war and entitlement programs. So we have the warfare mentality and we have the welfare mentality running America. And if you like paying taxes to supplement war and welfare, then pay your silly taxes. I choose not to.
I lay it this way. Paying taxes you owe is patriotic, but owing taxes is not patriotic. So that's the difference. If you don't owe any taxes, that's fine. That's what the government wants you to do. You're doing what the government wants you to do. Okay, if you don't owe any taxes. Now, if you don't pay taxes you do owe, that's not patriotic.
Well, that's when you go to jail and dance the hula.
That's right.
When we come back, Kim and I will be talking with Tom and Ken because we need both. We need Kenny as well as Tom to be able to make a lot of money and not pay taxes legally. But once again, get this through your thick head. America was founded as a tax-free nation. It was only until after 1943, the Current Tax Payment Act, where employees, if you're a W-2er, you got screwed. The 1943 Current Tax Payment Act allowed the government to take a deduction from your paycheck legally. In other words, the government got paid in 1943 before you did. And with that money, they support the welfare state and the warfare state of America. We could not afford to fight ISIS or pay for all of these entitlement programs if 1943 Act had not occurred, the Current Tax Payment Act. So we come back. For those of you who think paying taxes is patriotic, check out now, because I can't talk to you. If you want to find out how debt and taxes make the rich richer.
Howdy, listeners. This is Derek from the Rich Dad Radio team. You know that I work for Robert and Kim, but you might not know that I'm the owner of a Welsh Corgi named Cannoli and a Queensland Heeler puppy named Azula. If you're a dog owner, you know that it can be a pain trying to find the right snacks and toys to keep your dogs healthy and entertained. Cannoli, for instance, has destroyed 9 out of 10 toys we bring him, even the ones designed specifically for police dogs and pit bulls. So we tried BarkBox. BarkBox selects all natural treats and unique toys every month and sends them right to our door. All edibles are 100% made in the USA and Canada and tested to be sure they're safe. If your dog doesn't like something in the box, BarkBox will send you something else that they'll love for free. And when your dog does find something they like, you can easily order more on BarkBox.com or the BarkBox app. Our dogs loved the Himalayan yak cheese snacks. To get a free extra month of BarkBox, visit BarkBox.com/RichDad when you subscribe for a 6 or 12-month plan. Remember, go to BarkBox.com/RichDad. Classic
Rich Dad coaching staff wants to make you a special offer. But first, they have a rather blunt question. What's costing you more money? Being financially uneducated or stupid? If you're uneducated about creating wealth, you can do something about it. In fact, just listening to this podcast demonstrates that being financially ignorant is not your problem. Robert has said that being stupid is expensive. He doesn't mean to imply that you are not intelligent. He means it is stupid to know that you have options to improve your financial education, but choose not to do anything about it. We encourage you to take a different path and get a free strategy session with a member of the Rich Dad coaching team. Rich Dad Coaching has guided thousands of people to financial freedom by helping them take action rather than just dream. Go to www.richdadfreesession.com right now to learn all the exciting details. There are only a few times where you're faced with a decision that will affect the entire trajectory of your life. This is one of them. Don't let it slip away. The stupid thing to do is also the most expensive, which is to ignore this offer and hope for a miracle. Instead, do what Robert would advise. Put your fears aside and go to richdadfreesession.com and claim your free strategy session while they're still available. There is simply no faster way to turn your dreams and aspirations into actual wealth and financial success. So go to richdadfreesession.com now.
The key to achieving your dreams is to develop a rich mindset instead of an excuse mindset. Instead of saying, I can't afford that, ask yourself, how can I afford that? It's amazing how a simple shift in thinking can open a world of new ideas and endless possibilities. Let the Rich Dad Company help kickstart your journey to financial freedom. Robert Kiyosaki and the Rich Dad Company have compiled Robert's top secrets to creating a rich mindset, now available in a 10-minute ebook, How to Achieve a Rich Mindset. This offer is available for a limited time only, so get yours today. Get your free ebook, How to Achieve a Rich Mindset. Go to richdad.com and look for the banner. Again, this is available only for a few days, so act fast. Go to richdad.com and look for the How to Achieve a Rich Mindset banner.
Stay tuned.
The Rich Dad Radio Show with Robert Kiyosaki.
It's vital to protect yourself and your company. LLC, LP, S, or C Corp, let Corporate Direct guide you through the process of forming a corporation or LLC. Every business owner and real estate investor needs asset protection. Corporate Direct is owned by Rich Dad advisor Garrett Sutton and is Robert Kiyosaki's choice for corporate formation. Mention Rich Dad and receive $100 off a formation. Call 800-600-1760 or visit online at corporatedirect.com. That's corporatedirect.com.
Can you afford not to listen? Now back to the Rich Dad Radio Show with Robert Kiyosaki.
So you can listen to the Rich Dad Radio program at your time, your schedule. Rich Dad Radio app available at the App Store. All of our programs are archived at richdadradio.com. And the reason you archive them is so you can listen to it again. When you listen to it again, you understand it better, especially the subject on debt and taxes. But also you can talk to friends and family, people who still think it's patriotic to pay taxes to support the warfare state of America and the welfare state of America. And what we're talking about here as special guests are Ken McElroy, Rich Dad Advisor, website mccompanies.com. He's the author of the ABCs of Real Estate Investment, ABCs of Property Management, and the Advanced Guide to Real Estate Investment. And Tom Wheelwright, Rich Dad Advisor on Taxes, founder and CEO of ProVision, the premier strategic CPA firm, author of Tax-Free Wealth, website provisionwealth.com. Any comments, Kim?
Well, I think the whole thing you're talking about with this mindset, and it goes back to Cashflow Quadrant. Your book, Cashflow Quadrant, is the employee mentality versus the entrepreneur, business owner mentality. And people who work for somebody else or who are out of work, for some reason they have to blame somebody, so they're going to blame the rich. But they just don't understand. They really do not understand.
Or they naively say it's patriotic.
Yeah.
Once again, it was a 1943 Current Tax Payment Act that allowed the government to put their hands onto your paycheck if you're an employee in the E quadrant. So the government got paid before you got paid. This started in 1943, and they said it was to fight World War II, Pacific and European theaters.
It also goes back to fact versus opinion. So I love this. Pew Research Center just came out with a study that said 60% of Americans said they were bothered a lot by the feeling that some wealthy people and some corporations don't pay their fair share.
Oh,
they don't even
God.
have the facts. They just have a feeling that they're not. It's not
that
fair.
Is how financially uneducated Americans are.
Yes.
So before we go on, we'll want to play this clip because I've played it several times because it's my friend Donald Trump getting hammered by Hillary. And I don't know about how Hillary earned her money, but we know how Donald did it. He did it through real estate.
Maybe he doesn't want the American people to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes, because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
that makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid.
So does that make him smart, a criminal, or a crook? See, it really makes no difference what Donald says. What the difference is what you say to yourself. See, you think it's okay for Hillary to do what she does, and you think it's illegal for Donald to do what he does, then that's really the thing. You see, your beliefs may not be true, but they're real to you. So if you believe paying taxes is honorable, and Donald thinks it's not paying taxes is because he's smart, then it doesn't really make a difference what Donald says. The real point of view is, what do you say to yourself? You see, on air, Kim and I will tell you, the reason we have Tom and we have Kenny here is because we actively do our best not to pay taxes, the minimum in taxes legally.
However, our decisions and what we invest in and the businesses we build are not led by not paying taxes. We do that, and because of that, we get the tax incentives. Correct, Tom?
Right.
And Tom is our Rich Dad Advisor on taxes and author of Tax-Free Wealth. And Ken McElroy is our advisor on real estate, author of ABCs of Real Estate Investing, the ABCs of Property Management, and the Advanced Book of Real Estate.
Yeah, but here's the thing, Kim. If you go for real estate, you like
Yes.
real estate because
Yes.
real estate uses debt. That's why you like real estate, right, Ken? And you've got other people paying for, your
Mortgage
mortgage
and
expenses and all that kind of
tenants.
stuff. And that's what you like about it. But that's also why the government gives you an incentive, because they want you to make more money. I mean,
They want you to use debt.
They
want
want
us
you
to
to use
provide
that.
housing.
They want you to grow the economy. They want you to provide housing. They want you to do all those things. And for doing that, they're going to give you an incentive to go and do what you want to do in order to make more money.
But I make a lot of our decisions based on the tax.
You have to.
Yeah. So I think that a lot of people don't understand that. Like, I had a conversation with my partner yesterday, where we have a property with a significant amount of profit in it, and we're deciding to sell it or to refinance it. And if we sell it, we pay a lot of tax. If we refinance it, we don't. Period.
Right, because refinancing, that's more debt, and you can pull your cash out, but that's not taxable.
Correct, right, because you don't pay tax on debt. So
Because the government wants you to be in
right.
debt.
So here's the interesting thing. If we would have sold it, because we looked at it both ways, we actually would have netted about the same.
Is that right?
If you sold it.
Yeah, if we would have sold it and
but
paid
you
our
didn't-
portion
but
to the
you
government.
refinanced it, so you still have
so
the
now we still
property.
own the building.
Interesting.
Yeah, so because that difference, which is what you can't finance,
Right.
would have been paid in tax.
Well, one of the books that I came out with right after Rich Dad Poor Dad was a Cashflow Quadrant. E stands for employee, S stands for self-employed, small business, or specialists like doctors and lawyers. B stands for big business, and I stands for investor. So the question Tom always asks the audience when we're speaking, I'll ask Tom, can you do much tax planning for an employee?
Oh, very little. I mean, max out your 401k. That's about it.
So when somebody says to their child, go to school and get a job, what's happening to the kid as far as from a tax?
Well, you're actually putting them into a lifelong in debt for life to paying taxes to the government. Right.
So isn't that part of the problem with this election is that most of the people that, like Hillary, is playing to this ignorance of the American people around taxes?
Oh, they're not ignorant.
Yes,
no,
they're
come
very
on.
ignorant. They don't have the facts. They think that the rich are screwing everybody.
Hillary knows what she's doing.
Oh, she absolutely.
It's interesting though because
she knows more than
that's
Trump.
why. I mean, she's
You
playing to their ignorance,
totally.
and that's why she's.
She knows how to make the money the
you
old-fashioned
talk about
way.
your massage therapist, and Hillary's talking about her dad, who is an entrepreneur, right?
He's a curtain maker.
I'm going. But he took the same. The thing is that the tax benefits aren't just there for the rich. You can be the curtain maker and the massage therapist, and you still get the same tax benefits. So it's not that the rich don't pay taxes. That people in certain, like the cash flow quadrant, people in the I quadrant, people in the B quadrant pay less taxes than those who are employees. That's all it is.
And as Kenny says, every decision is made because a tax consequence to everything we do. To be ignorant is ignorant. That's the problem. So that's why it's kind of disgusting when I hear, I like Bernie Sanders. We're going to have free education. Well, there's only one problem with it. Who's going to pay for it? Taxpayers. So if you like that, just be ignorant, go to school, get a job, and pay your taxes. So let me just give me an idea how we operate. Tom is such a great tax advisor that Kim and I pay zero taxes legally. Is it legal, Tom?
Absolutely. You're not the only one who doesn't want to dance the hula. I have to sign that return too.
Yeah, it's a very big problem. Now, the problem is, we keep making more money. So when we came into the sound studio this morning to do the show, I asked Kenny, I said, Kenny, what else you got for me? In other words, I have got to invest with Kenny or I'm going to pay tax. Is that correct, Kenny?
Yes, that's exactly what we talked about.
And you're letting us down because you don't have any tax.
I know.
Okay, well, and why? What's happening? Because globally, I mean, the whole global economic
what's happening
thing is changing.
is that there's a lot of foreign money coming into the U.S. right now, a lot. First it was Russia, then China, and now, of course, England. So what's happening is whenever there's that much money chasing real estate, or which is fixed, basically, the price goes up, and that's what's happening. Prices are going up pretty rapidly, and so what I told you was that it's probably not a good idea to try to save tax to chase real estate.
Let me just ask a question.
Don't chase a bad deal to save tax.
So you got all this money from Russia, you got all that money coming in from China because they don't trust their currency.
Exactly right. They don't trust their currency.
And we're on the verge of war. So once again, it's Robert Kiyosaki of the Rich Dad Radio Show. We are our guest today are Tom Wheelwright, Rich Dad Advisor on taxes, Kenny McElroy, partner on real estate. We're talking about how debt and taxes make the rich richer, but debt and taxes make the poor and middle class poor. The thing about this, Tom, is I hear this from a lot of S's, like people who are nurses, massage therapists, web designers. They say, well, my accountant should save me some money on tax. Well, you, as an accountant, you can't save them on tax money, can you?
Yeah, I can't do anything. I mean, what I can do is I can tell you what facts in your life, what things you need to do in order to save taxes, but you're the one who's doing it. You're the one investing in real estate, oil and gas, building businesses. Those are all things that the tax law that the government wants you to do. As long as you do that, you're going to save on taxes. I can tell you what you need to do. I can tell you how much you need to do, but I can't do it for you.
Well, that's why I think you should start by reading Tax-Free Wealth, and then take that book to whoever's doing your taxes or whoever your advisor is. If you have an advisor,
that's the whole point. Because Kenny's going to talk about when you're bringing people into your investments. Aren't some of the worst people the mutual fund advisors and the 401k advisors?
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, the truth is, because of the tax law, a lot of people want into real estate. That's the truth. And so they're looking for good operators. And so we happen to be that. And so we attract a lot of it. But a lot of people want to invest through financial planners or through IRAs or things like that. Which, we've done some of that. But the point is that in talking to those financial planners, my experience has been that they're really just chasing commissions. So, they're upset that these people are moving money from the stock market into real estate. And I understand why, because they get paid regardless if their investment goes up or down.
What Kenny is talking about here, I met this financial planner. They are stupid. I mean, most of them really don't have any financial education at all. They're salespeople. And whenever I talk to them about real estate, they go, "Oh no, you're talking about REITs, real estate investment trust,
which is paper, which is
I
stock.
said, no,
which
I'm
is
not
paper.
talking about. Oh, what you're doing is so risky. You can't do that." And when Tom, Kenny, Kim, and I are all over the world, we run into those ignoramuses
Every time.
every single time when we talk about how the rich are getting richer via debt and taxes. One of those geniuses, one of those rocket scientists, will stand up and what do they say, Tom?
You can't do that here.
And when Kenny talks to him, what do they say?
Yeah, for sure. You can't do that here.
And with that is the problem with your advisor. If your advisor only knows how to sell you paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, ETFs, get a new advisor. I don't say leave them, but find out different advice because you're being screwed. If you're an E&S investing in paper assets, stocks, bonds, mutual funds, REITs, annuities, you're being screwed financially, tax-wise, up one side and down the other. Any comments, Tom?
Well, there's no question. I mean, I always say that there are very few tax incentives that are worse than a 401k because you have no control over your money. And the idea of not having control of your money, and you invest in, you talk about, Kenny, you talk about people investing in real estate in your deals through their IRA or their 401k, they lose all the tax benefits by doing that. They've actually converted non-taxable income to taxable income by doing that. So
what's the difference between somebody that's had your training, Tom, and somebody that's just a financial planner just going by the
They
rules?
don't have any
Where
training.
do they get their training?
None.
So I
mean,
seriously,
yeah,
it takes about 3 weeks to get your license to be a
So
financial planner.
So is what you do, is that self? You learn that yourself? Where do you learn all this?
Well, no. I mean, I have 5 years of schooling for it. I mean, I have a master's in tax degree, right? So, I mean, it's very complex.
But the
stuff.
average financial planner
The
is
average
about
financial
a
planner knows-
three
has
month course.
maybe 3 months.
Once again, it's Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. We're talking to Tom Wheelwright and Ken McElroy and Kim Kiyosaki about debt and taxes. Once again, it's a new book coming out called Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, coming out in 2017. What is real financial education? And what real financial education is what you're hearing about today. It's how debt and taxes make the rich richer. And when we come back, we'll be talking more about what you have to do. You see, because Tom says that he can't do it for you, and Kenny can't do it for you, I can't do it for you, and your financial planner definitely won't do it for you.
The Rich Dad Radio Show with Robert Kiyosaki.
Once again, let's play this little clip from my friend Donald and Hillary.
Maybe he doesn't want the American people to know that he's paid nothing in federal taxes because the only years that anybody's ever seen were a couple of years when he had to turn them over to state authorities, and they showed he didn't pay any federal income tax. So
That makes
if
me
he's
smart.
paid
Once again, it's Tom Wheelwright and Kenny McElroy. They're both Rich Dad advisors. Kenny is our expert on real estate, and Tom is on taxes.
Well, I found the answer. The funny thing is of course, he took a shot at the New York Times also during the debate.
Oh, what happened there? Yeah.
Well, and then there was an article that came out and slammed him on, his whole tax piece and that he hasn't paid tax. But then the next day, there was another article about how the New York Times themselves hasn't paid any tax. So I thought that was kind of ironic.
Why is that, Tom? Why is that? How can the New York Times not pay tax? That liberal commie organization.
I mean, they're in tax incentives for every business. Every industry has tax incentives. I mean, and so the New York Times, they pay people, they have employees, so they're getting tax benefits for it. I mean, they may even have, there are all sorts of tax benefits. There's research and development tax credits, the pharmaceuticals, they get huge tax benefits, research and development tax credits.
Isn't Elon Musk running a lot of tax credits?
He gets enormous tax credits. Billions, literally.
Though the best part about that was that the New York Times actually got $3.5 million refund.
There you go.
Take a look. In 2014, it's in the newspaper.
You know what I find ironic is that actually Hillary's tax plan, under Hillary's tax plan, Donald continues to pay less tax. Under Donald's Trump tax plan, Donald actually probably pays more tax.
Why is that? What's the difference between the two plans?
Well, the difference is that Hillary perpetuates what we have, right? She's this complex tax system where it's used to provide incentives to certain industries like real estate, oil and gas, etc. Whereas Donald's tax plan, he makes it a 15% tax rate across the board for all businesses. Well, at a 15% tax rate, you don't care about taxes. Taxes don't. I mean, if Kenny, if you were looking at a piece of real estate, you were selling it, you're going, we're going to pay 15% in taxes. Would you even think about taxes as a major impact
compared
on
to
that?
paying
No,
like
I see what you
45
mean.
or
Yeah, no,
50%.
I'm fine with paying tax.
Right,
I'm just saying that.
But you
we
don't want
can
to pay
legally-
40% tax. You want to pay
Right.
50%
But also,
tax.
if Trump were to reduce the corporate tax to 15%, wouldn't that incentivize a lot of businesses to come back to
we
the
would
US?
we would actually become a tax haven in
Yeah.
the world, and you'd have businesses from all over Europe and Asia that
Coming
wanted
here.
to locate
Yeah.
here for the
That
tax
alone,
reason.
that alone
would
makes
be
so much
would-
sense to me.
is so much sense.
So why do we have that high corporate barrier to bringing money
Yeah.
back in?
You know what? It's very similar to why people think taxes are patriotic. They think corporations are evil, and
So
what
is
they
that
don't
part
understand
of
is
Hillary's plan is to keep that corporate rate high?
oh, not only that, but she wants to penalize. She wants to penalize companies for being headquartered in the U.S.
because now companies are evil.
Because companies are evil.
Well, if you
Corporations
take-
are
if you
evil.
take a look-
Capitalism is bad.
Bill Gates built a bunch of plants up in Canada. Apple is doing all their business in Ireland, right?
Right.
And
so
you-
is Google.
And so is Google. You start to take a look at these companies that we use every day are positioning themselves outside of the United States right now for this exact reason,
Yes.
tax.
It's purely
Yes.
for tax reasons.
Right.
So let me ask this question, Tom, because you're a tax expert. Let's say I'm an employee and I drank the Kool-Aid. You know, I'm not against financial planners. What Kenny says is they don't get rich selling you real estate, and they do provide a service. But let's say I'm an employee or I'm a small business owner. Let's say I'm a massage therapist that Kenny goes to. Can they do anything to reduce their taxes legally?
Well, yeah. I mean, they can do the same thing that you guys do. They can do the same thing that Donald Trump does. I mean, it's just a matter of understanding. That's what tax-free wealth is about, is understanding what the tax law, what the incentives are, taking those incentives and doing what the government wants you to do.
What are some of those incentives, though?
Well, so for example, solar energy. You invest in solar energy, wind energy, renewable energy. Those are all have big tax credits to them. Investing in agriculture has food has huge tax benefits to it. Research and development. So you go out and create a new app, for the app store.
Which
you
anybody
develop,
could do today.
Anybody can do today. You develop some new technology, you're going to get a huge research and development tax credit. There's all sorts of benefits, not just real estate. I mean, it's oil and gas, it's solar, it's you send your kid to college. What do? You get a tax credit. I mean, there are incentives for everybody in every walk of life, and everybody's taking, and everybody should take them.
I remember when we were in Germany, and there was a couple, and they were both employees. They both had full-time jobs, but they started putting up a windmill in their backyard. And they got number one, they could sell some of the electricity, plus they got great tax advantages.
On top of that, they were buying used German windmills.
Yeah.
And putting them on Polish soil, which I always thought was kind of interesting.
That's hilarious.
But anyway,
And
let
so-
bygones be bygones.
Yeah, but let me ask this too, because it's all, the politicians, and I don't believe any politicians. And actually, our friend who is a politician said, if any politician ever says they're doing this for the good of the American people, just know they're lying, because they're not. But they're all talking about, Hillary talks about, this is going to help the middle class. I'm going to help the middle class. Is Hillary or Donald's tax plan, going to help the middle class, and what needs to be done to help the middle class?
Well, it depends on who in the middle class you're helping. Okay, because if you're talking about the middle class being the average massage therapist and small business owner, Donald's plan absolutely does wonders for them, because he's reducing their tax rate down to a 15% tax rate. He's bringing jobs from overseas. So there's a lot of argument I think, for Donald's plan that it would create a lot of jobs, because like you said, Ken, I mean, you're going to get businesses from Europe, you're going to get business from Asia, from Australia, who want to locate here just because of the tax laws. So that helps. In my mind, anytime you build jobs, you're going to help the middle class.
Yes.
Now, Hillary, the only way she can provide jobs is through additional government, right? So they're going to be government jobs. What she would do is, of course, add more taxes to the rich, and nobody's going to argue about taxing people who make $5 million or more. But, that doesn't change the taxes for a Donald Trump, because he doesn't, on his tax return, I'm sure he doesn't show $5 million of income. Okay, it's got to be a lot lower than that because of all the deductions he gets because of debt.
And that's what we cover in our latest. Tom and I come out with this book called Why the Rich Are Getting Richer, What is Financial Education Really? And real financial education is about debt and taxes, not about saving money and investing for the long term in the stock market. That's ridiculous. So, Kenny, let me ask you this. What are you doing? We always consider tax. But given the high price of real estate and all this and the acquisition costs, and it's now pushed real estate into the risky category, right? It's really easy when it crashes.
In a lot
It's
of
cheap.
real estate, yes. There's a lot of real estate that's overpriced right now. Multiple reasons why. The main reason is that there's not a lot of people providing money to build new real estate. Two.
What do you mean they're not?
Well,
the banks
the
and
banks are
lenders?
still. Yeah, the banks are still.
They're still-
they're still leery of providing a lot of construction money. Two, there's a lot of pressure with people investing in it. So whenever you have a low supply issue and a high demand issue, of course your price is going up. So what we're doing right now, Robert, is we're restructuring our debt. So we're taking a look at our cost of our debt. So we have maybe $400 or $500 million in debt. And so we're looking at all of that and seeing how it's priced. The price of the debt, of course, is the interest rate, which most people call it interest rate. If I refinance a property and I get more money and I get it for less, in other words, I'm paying less for that money. When I refinance, it's tax-free.
Once again, Robert Kiyosaki, the Rich Dad Radio Show. Our guest today, Ken McElroy, Rich Dad advisor on real estate. His website is mccompanies.com. He's author of ABCs of Real Estate Investing. You want some tax breaks, you start with that book there, okay? Because real estate is still one of the best tax loopholes
throughout
around.
the world. It's and let me be clear, not a loophole, but intentional. It's absolutely the best tax break in every country. It doesn't matter where you are.
And Tom Wheelwright, Rich Dad advisor on taxes, founder and CEO of ProVision, the premier strategic CPA firm, author of Tax-Free Wealth. His website is provisionwealth.com.
So one thing, that we talk a lot about at Rich Dad is understanding the vocabulary of tax, the vocabulary of debt, the vocabulary of real estate, the vocabulary of business. And you just mentioned a word, Robert. You said loopholes.
Yes.
And you jumped right on it, Tom, and you're like incentives. So
Right.
there is this assumption that these are loopholes and people are doing this illegally or not ethically.
Right. The idea behind a loophole is that it was a mistake in the law that somebody is taking advantage of. They're finding a way through a spot that wasn't intended to be there. These are absolutely intentional. Okay, Ronald Reagan started it. I mean, when Reagan passed his 1981 Tax Act, he actually created this huge incentive called accelerated depreciation for real estate. Whereas right now you're getting about 3.6%. Back then it was almost twice that for real estate. So Reagan really started this idea behind real estate, that real estate is something we ought to incentivize. We ought to incentivize people to build real estate, to own more real estate. And quite frankly, every country has followed suit. So it doesn't matter if you're in Canada or Australia or China. Every country has these same tax laws.
And that's the point. No matter where the four of us go, people will say to us, you can't do that here. And the reason they can't do that here is because they're like the people who actually believe that Trump's a crook for not paying tax. That is how financially ignorant most people are. And that includes a lot of the guys that say we can't do it here are attorneys, right?
They are. They are. I mean, I met with an attorney not too long ago in town here, and he's just says, well, you've got to be a crook to not be paying taxes. I'm going, you got to be an idiot to be paying those taxes.
And then for Kenny, when his investors are coming in and they bring their financial planner with them, you have an educational process, don't you?
Yeah, well, here's what I don't understand. I don't understand why somebody would turn over all their life savings to one person that they barely know. And I think it's
somebody's not financially educated either.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, and there
trying
are
to get rid of
there
their
are
money,
financial
right?
planners that are good, and there are financial planners that aren't. Just like everything. But the point is that why turn all your money over to
That you've worked
somebody
so hard
and then 20 years later, sit down with them and see whether or not it's grown. I don't understand that. I just don't understand that. I mean, I'm not saying move all your money to real estate. All our investors, they have money in everything. They have businesses, they have oil and gas, They have gold, they have silver, they have real estate, they have stocks, even some of them have mutual funds, and they have IRAs, they have Roths, they have all those things, and that's financial education.
It's like you take your kid and you turn it over to somebody and you say, I'll see you in 18 years.
Yeah, I know. I just
See
don't
if you did a
understand
good
that.
job.
That's the part I don't understand.